Chapter 11. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The power of skills is out of this world. Ever since then, my mother let me visit father in the farm after asking them multiple times to give me these fruits as baby food. Why? Because they were tasty as hell. On a side note, I have also been eating more dragon meat for almost a month now. The apples were sweeter than anything I had ever eaten and filled me with a great amount of stamina I never thought I could possess. The tomatoes were also sweet, juicy, and a bit citric. They're definitely ideal for a nice salad, although mother also made delicious pasta sauce with it, adding minced dragon meat into it. The noodles were also special, made with some kind of golden wheat, something father brought from the farm. In any case, from what I've learned so far, father and mother are ridiculously strong. Mother specializes in healing, protection, plus strong offensive magic based on the element of light and life, I believe. On the other hand, father is a fire specialist who's also crazy buff. To think he would be able to wrestle against a giant 30-meter tall dragon like nothing and slice its head off with his magic fire sword. In my previous life, magic also existed. I didn't even know the name of my previous world, but I knew the name of the continent. It was named Cadania, a place ruled by aristocratic rulers. The monsters, as I've seen them here, were very rare in that continent, only seen inside special places named crypts. Magic was also common, but I've never seen such crazy magic as the one in this world in my previous life. In my previous life, magic was very hard to conjure. Even the most talented nobles with magic bloodlines required years of experience to master magic. On top of that, they were limited by their mana pool. That's probably why magic artifacts were invented and abused to extend one's magical capabilities. Well, I don't know how this world works, so I can't say much about it. However, there seems to be some kind of tiered system for magic spells and martial techniques. In my previous world, there was no such things like that. Then again, there was a type of stronger magic classified through circles. If I remember correctly, 8-circle magic was the strongest. If we compare this 8-circle magic with Tier 8 magic, which my mother conjures without even breaking a sweat, then we can say that my parents could quite literally be living gods of magic. Plus, they don't even become exhausted when they conjure it. Just how much mana do they have? Maybe having infinite mana is not special. Even then, they did say they had a very hard time in the war against the Demon Lord and his demon army, although this whole time I've barely gotten any info on that. Moving all of that aside, I've been developing bit by bit. Eating these magic foods really boosted the growth of my strength even though I'm not even a year old. Though, I think I'm halfway to getting there, being half a year old. Nevertheless, I have still developed quite a lot. My control over magic is also becoming better, although it still took time and exhausted me when I go over my limit. Having infinite mana doesn't make one infinitely better at magic, after all. If I think of it from another perspective, having infinite mana is equivalent to a carriage with horses that don't tire out, but would still require being taught how to obey their owners and react to commands. Due to that, a lot of experience and practice is required. What I did against the radish exhausted me a lot back then, with me resting for a whole week after that. My brain and soul felt so exhausted I could barely move. Then again, the dragon meat and the magic fruits helped me recover. So yeah. I can't be too reckless with this. I still have to put in a lot of effort. Effort, the word I learned from my teacher back then, the most important word I should always remember. Nothing is achieved without effort. Even with my cheats, I must put in extra effort to learn and utilize my powers. I consider myself quite the hard worker. Through this past month or so, I've been passively training mana usage while rolling around. Mother doesn't allow me to use Ember because I could burn the house if I use it. With that, I've been only practicing it sometimes when she carries me outside and some walking vegetables escape the farm. However, I've begun to believe this was done intentionally by my parents to let me practice fire magic and have fun with it, although the aftermath is me becoming exhausted for several days. Having a baby body is the worst. Not only that, my soul also seems to be weak according to the system due to it being that of a mere and simple human. She had analyzed a bit of my parents' power, actually. Although she told me it was too much for her to handle at the moment, she did say their souls were abnormally large. On the other hand, my soul was tiny in comparison. Apparently, the larger the soul, the less mental exhaustion you experience while using magic. There's no way for me to enlarge my soul as of now. I doubt there's even a way, aside from, I don't know, eating souls. In any case, I don't possess such power like that. So, I have to do with what I have for now. And he. Aside from Ember, I have another skill I possess, one I have been ignoring because it didn't work without a specific material, which were seeds. That's right. It's my farmer.class signature skill, agriculture. Aside from making me strangely knowledgeable about the properties of plants, as well as their qualities and conditions, this skill apparently lets me control plants, enhance them, and quite literally make them grow. I don't know if my parents have this since I haven't seen father nor mother use any power like this, so this must be my unique power compared to them which they do not have. Father just uses basic farming techniques and rich soil to make the plants grow, but that's not a superpower. Instead, he learned all of this from Grandpa, which he told me. Anyways, now that I've stealthily gathered seeds from the fruits I've eaten, it's time to test out agriculture. Chapter 12. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The agriculture skill might be better than I thought technically. I don't have infinite HP or MP, but it never runs out, so it's infinite in a way, right? However, in another way, it's not. It's kind of confusing, to be honest. Not even the system can properly explain how it's done, but she did say that she drained a lot of power from her creator due to this error by mistake, which made this power a staple within my soul. I don't even know where the mana and health that never runs out comes from. Perhaps it came from the environment. Then again, my parents are so strong that they should have realized they were having their mana drained or something, right? Pushing that topic aside for now, the system has recently acquired the ability to show me the descriptions of my skills, so here they are. However, they're not that detailed. Royal Elven Lineage, a signature of having the royal bloodline of elves running through your veins. Your affinity with magic and spirits is enhanced greatly, many times that of normal elves. The growth of your magic and mana stat is enhanced by plus 100%. You're more likely to find spirits that will favor you or join you throughout your life. If a spirit is recruited, spirit magic can be unlocked. This one was something I didn't expect. After all, I didn't know it had such effects, to the point that it left me a bit shocked. However, the growth increase seems to be useless because my stat numbers are frozen, and the ability to acquire spirit magic as a skill is also useless because my skill status is also frozen. In other words, I can't get new skills. I'm stuck with what I got after being born. Nevertheless, the system did say that even if it doesn't show in the system, this does affect my growth outside the system, and that acquiring and learning spirit magic is also possible. However, it wouldn't be as easy as using a spirit magic skill. I think I'm getting it now. Such an overpowered being as me would need to have to go through some difficulties in life, or it won't be fun. I get it. Agriculture, a signature skill from the farmer class. Grants the ability to detect the health of plants, their inner talents, capabilities, and species by just glancing at them. Additionally, grants the ability to enhance and control plants through the usage of mana. Here it is, the one I was just about to use. Quite a simple explanation. Lesser Fire Magic. Ember, a lesser fire attribute magic spell, the weakest there is. By spending 10 mana, one could create a small fire to light candles, start a small fire, or illuminate a small and dark place. The power of this spell is mediocre and cannot be properly used for fighting. Even the slightest breeze can make this tiny flame disappear. Cooldown. No cooldown. Ah, system, do you really have to rub something like this on my face? I know it's the weakest spell. However, if I combine it with the next skill I'll show and add on my infinite mana, I can even use it several times consecutively to conjure something big by melding all the fire together. It's an insane method which my parents had noticed as my unique way to conjure magic. Because it has no cooldown, I can technically spam it infinitely. Other spells above Ember do have some cooldown, I believe. Mana usage, the ability to naturally wield mana. Grants the ability to use mana without any previous required experience. While activated, you can use your own mind to mold the mana to your liking, but a lot of mana has to be utilized. Can be practiced continuously for better and more efficient results. This is the lowest tiered mana usage. Type skill, below mana manipulation and mana mastery. I see. So, this is actually the lowest tiered skill. But it helped me out so much. Imagine what I could do if I had those other two. Damn. In any case, that's that. These skills are pretty great, compared to the absolute nothing I had in my previous life. Well, they're my gifts in this life, so I must use them and abuse them accordingly. Now, back to business. There's a small little black seed in the palm of my hand, which I got from an eaten apple. La la la, mother's leisurely cooking some dragon stew and also frying some dragon tempura. In fact, she's even baking some fresh bread, so I think she's busy enough that she won't bother me. With that, I looked at the tiny seed in my baby hand as I activate mana usage and agriculture at the same time, infusing the skill's effects into the seed. Flash. The effect was almost instantaneous. The seed began to glow with a mix of bright gold and emerald green light. Wow! I must say this is quite amazing to see. The seed began to glow with these two lights as it began to tremble a bit. Crack! A tiny crack suddenly emerged from the seed sometime later as a small little blue sprout emerged. It was very tiny. But it was there. It was growing. Wow! The sprout grew a tiny bit, around half a centimeter, but before I thought it would grow any further, it stopped. Ugh! A strong headache caught me by surprise. Ack! Was that really so hard to do? I thought I could surprise mother with a big tree. I calmed myself down and looked at the sprout. Hey, even a tiny leaf emerged, not bad for my first day. I might as well gradually make it grow every day. I decided to show it to Mom, who had felt a faint magical presence and was already coming here to check me out. A mother truly has divine senses. Sylphie, are you playing with magic again? Ma. Ah. Bah. I raised my tiny hand and showed her what I made. A seed. Oh, it has a sprout on it and a tiny leaf. Did you make this? I nodded confidently. Wow, you have the ability of nature magic. You can grow plants. I nodded again in response. Amazing, Sylphie. You actually have an ability that your parents don't possess. Let me go show it to your father. With that, mother grabbed my seed and flew outside. Soon after, my father quickly came back with her. Sylphie, that seed. You made it sprout, right? He asked. I nodded in response. Well. That's actually a seed that usually only grows when bathed in spiritual spring water for over 50 years. You really made an Eden apple seed sprout just like that. Oh. Was it that amazing? Wait a second. So that's why it exhausted me so much. Chapter 13. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I hope you're doing alright. Wow, so I guess I didn't suck so much, huh? Rioi? I asked. Hee, indeed, Sylphie, you're very amazing. To think that you've developed such strong nature attribute abilities. If you can make a seed of this millenary tree sprout in a few hours, then perhaps you could generate an entire forest within a day if they're common plants, said my father. Wow, 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 alright, calm down there father, I don't think I am that amazing, I would probably drop dead if I tried doing something so intense. It is indeed incredible. Maybe she inherited the nature attribute from my family. I remember my father and big sister having it, said my mother. Oh, perhaps it is from your family, yeah. Elves are good at nature, light, and life attributes after all, that's quite a possibility, said my father. But even then, none of them had even been capable of making such a seed from these mystical trees sprout before, not even after trying for years. The only method there is to sprout them is the traditional method, said my mother. That's right. Alma, you're not only talented at fire magic, but at nature magic, said my father, petting me and then grabbing me with his big and muscular arms, raising me into the sky. Such a talented little baby. You're going to do many things in the future, I am sure of it, he said, smiling handsomely. Will I? I asked. Indeed, said my mother. I smiled dumbly at this, I don't know but it felt so stupidly nice to be praised so much. I shouldn't get so cocky. But it feels so good I smiled like a baby. Wee-hee, that's a cute chuckle, said my father. Kind of reminds me of yours when you're drunk, said my mother. D.do I laugh like that, asked my father. Wee-hee. Wee-hee. My father began to play around with me and laugh just like I do. I guess it is hereditary. Ha ha ha. See. You laugh the same, by the gods, said my mother, chuckling. After playing some more with my parents, we had some lunch where I ate some dragon stew and salad, and after that, I went to take a nap. The seed was left inside a little flask where the light of the sun reached it from the window. Mother will allow me to nurture it every day. Father wanted me to nurture the farm, and I was more than willing to, but mother said it would be too tiring for me, sigh. He also wanted to give me normal plant seeds to see if I could instantly develop them, but mother said it was better if I practiced with one at a time, and slowly. If I pushed myself too hard, I might end up crippling my magic talent or something like that. I don't know what she means, but it seems that those that overly practice magic at a young age might end up crippled out of their magical usage. How does that even works? But mother said that magic is like a muscle, if we wear it down too much, we might end up breaking all its ligaments and ending with a horribly painful wound that won't heal in some time. But with magic, that little time could take years. Alright then, fine, I won't go that far. Joking. With the system I don't have to fear that, mother, those powers are fixed into me and will never cripple. And with endless mana, I can practice all I want. Oh ho ho. Gay. I practiced for 3 hours straight in the night using mana to reinforce my body or something like my father does, but it left me exhausted. I fell unconscious after that. Through the days after, I continued to slowly nourish this little seed while having small baby adventures in the backyard and front yard with Mom. She never let me go anywhere by myself and carried me in her arms for everything. I couldn't say I dislike it, she's very lovely and I just like to be in her embrace. But being constantly given milk from her massive tits is getting a bit tiring. Elves do really have massive ones, huh? Wait, will I have the same massive assets as my mother when I grow up? I can't help but imagine myself as a sexy elf with long red hair and a seductive expression in her face, wide hips and massive breasts, beautifully thick thighs and... that this is wrong to imagine. Damn, if I truly become as pretty as Mom. Then I will end up getting a bunch of guys tailing me from behind. So annoying. I preferred to be ugly in my previous life. At least without a pretty face these rapist bandits didn't try to do anything to my body when I fell unconscious. Well, mostly because they thought I died back then. Ugh, better not talk about my previous life if possible. The only thing I wish is for my mother and sister to be fine. I can only hope. I cannot go back there, I am not even in the same world anymore, quite possibly. The only thing you have left is hope, and hope is something you should never lose. Hope is what drives you when there's nothing left. With hope is that I was able to rescue them, with that hope I trained and trained. Until one day, I finally found them, and took down the bastards that took them away from me. I just wish I could have spent some more time with them after rescuing them. My ending was quite abrupt, and anticlimactic. I guess I am a big softie. I couldn't see any more of my friends die in front of me, so I just sacrificed myself. Hopefully they also met their families once more. I like to think that they're now living peacefully in a village, farming, and living a good life like the one I am having. Everyone, I hope you're doing fine, wherever you are. Chapter 14. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Planting my Eden apple tree. Whoa, look at this thing. I did it. It has been 2 months since the first time I tried to raise my little seed, and now, it had developed into a small plant. Every day I had been nurturing it using agriculture and insane amounts of manna until I dropped exhausted. It had been growing by around half a centimeter each day, sometimes less, but it advanced, nonetheless. Now, it was around 60 centimeters big, half a meter. And it was big. It was all green, with many leaves popping out of it. Mother gave me a planter to put it in, alongside some spiritual water to water it every day alongside my nurturing. Now this plant had become like my companion or something. Haha. It is always at my side, and I like to see it slowly grow bigger. It feels like little by little, I am progressing, and it is an addictive feeling. But it's still just a plant, right? I can't really treat it like a pet, we cannot interact together. Nonetheless, I like to speak to it and caress it, and take good care of it. Right, 2 months had passed, and I've grown a bit more. I can now finally walk in all fours, rolling around for so long was really a pain. But my baby body had developed enough I can independently crawl. One baby step at a time. Due to this, Mother is finally letting me out of the crib to walk around the first floor of the house. Our house is big, I never truly realized it. It is around 20 meter cubic. What the heck? I never saw such a big house. It is made of wood, but a very resilient and fire-proof magic wood of sorts. I like to crawl around and sneak behind my mother or father. Like now. Hee hee hee. I found my father in his room, he was reading a book as a break after going into the farm. I looked at him peacefully read the book. It looked like a normal fantasy fiction book or something, I don't know how to read yet. He suddenly noticed me and glares at me, but I hide right away behind the door. Chew. Ha. Did I see a little mouse around here, he wondered, as he began to slowly walk outside. I hide beneath a couch as he walks outside. Must have been my imagination. Hee hee. I can't help but laugh stupidly, I think even my mind as a child is enjoying this dumb thing. Foo. Ah. Gotcha. He caught me red-handed. Gra. I roar as I bite his arm, but it's so hard it is like biting pure metal. Ha ha ha. Are we playing being bears again? You dare oppose your father bear, he asked. Grayo. Gra. He plays around with me a lot, we even pretend to be bears and bite each other playfully. Sometimes he attacks me with a lot of tickles, and I can't help but laugh out loud, this baby body is way too sensitive. Hee hee, that tickles. You're so cute Sylphie.chan. I will tickle my daughter as much as I want. Father continues to tickle me as he suddenly tickles my baby belly and I burst into laughter. It seems that Mother heard us, as she called us to come down. You two bears, come down, lunch is ready. Oh, alright dear. Come, Sylph, that he carried me with his big and protective arms, as we went downstairs and had some nice lunch all together. Yua, the tree you're raising is already so big, Sylph. I can feel it is emanating a lot of magic from within too, said Mother. Really? I asked. Indeed. It is very beautiful. It will grow into a big tree one of these days. We'll have to plant it though. So you won't be able to be with it at all times. She sighed. Iya. Sorry dearie, but if you want it to live and grow bigger, you'll have to plant it somewhere. How about just at the side of the house? So you can come out with us and nurture it every day. Said Mother. Fine. I sighed. I guess it's true, trees need a lot of space to grow bigger. How about you give it a name? Asked my father. A name. But it is. Just a tree. I sighed. Not just a tree if you've been raising it for this time, right? It's your friend, so you gotta give it a name, said my father. Indeed, that it doesn't move, or that it is not as interactive as an animal doesn't mean that it is not a living being. Even plants, the tiniest grass, has a soul, did you know? And the soul of this little tree. I can feel it, it is very attached to you, dear. Said my mother. Ooh. Really? Indeed. It is always get more brighter when you're closer. Said my father. Also, this is a very mystical tree. Eden apples are a tree said to have been gifted to us by the goddess of life to nurture humanity in the beginning. It is an important fruit, yet forgotten in the modern history. As a plant created by a goddess, it is bound to be more special than grass. Said my mother. So that's how it is. I cannot see any glow or light from it when I look at it though. It must be my parents' special abilities that allow them to see this kind of stuff. She. After 3 days, we ended planting my tree at the side of the house, in a place where a lot of sun could reach it all day. I named her Yggdra, and assumed it was a girl, although Mother said that Eden apples were a hermaphrodite plant that pollinated itself. The breeze was rather nice that day, as I saw my little tree resting over the dirt. A sudden faint glow came from it, I was barely able to notice it. I looked at the small tree as I felt a sudden whisper. Thank you. It spoke. Or was I hallucinating? It didn't said anything else. Chapter 15. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Delicious birthday cake. Back then, I really thought it was just my imagination. How could a tree speak? I mean. Well, in my previous world, there was no such thing as speaking trees. However, Mother told me there were races close to the elves named the Dryads, which were the spirits of trees. On top of that, there was also other race named the Ents, which were guardians of the forests, living, gigantic tree giants that walked on 2 feet and protected large and ancient forests from the dangers of the outside world. But isn't it way too young for this tree to even evolve into anything like that? Maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe. Well, that changed when my first birthday came. I was already a year old by now and could quite confidently walk on my 2 feet. It was a tad bit hard to balance at first, but after a few days of practice, I remembered how I learned walking in my previous life. In fact, I did it quite quickly. Unsurprisingly, my parents were amazed. And since then, a few months had passed by. It had already been 12 months since my birth. Has it really been just a year? For some reason, it felt awfully long. That I'm really happy to be with my parents, but I kind of want to meet other people, know more about this mysterious world, explore it a bit, you know. I have been restraining myself from asking too many things to them all this time. After all, I don't want to sound suspicious or something like that by being way too curious. Although from what I've learned so far, my parents are given the title of heroes, participating in a war around 5 years ago. This war was against the forces of the Demon King, a worldwide threat that was about to engulf this entire continent in darkness. Apparently, every time the Demon King emerged, generated by the world itself, a tide of monsters would appear, composed of deadly monsters that had never been seen before, as well as most of the natural monsters becoming more aggressive against humans and other races. And then, that's where the gods would bless the humans and grant them special talents since birth. The divine protection of these gods gave these humans the capacity of becoming heroes, superhumans amongst superhumans with incredible potential for growth. After going through a journey saving the different kingdoms from being engulfed in this darkness and the constant monster tides led by demon generals, the heroes grew strong enough to defeat the demon king. My mother said that such a battle like that was too catastrophic. I've heard that father still mourned for all their fallen friends, many of them heroes like them. I guess being a hero doesn't really make you invincible. The purpose of the demon king and the monster in this world is still a mystery to me, but from how I see it, it seems they were created to either wipe out humanity and the other races, or merely give them challenges while the gods protect these races and fight back against the demon king and its monsters. But you'd think that a demon god is making monsters or something, right? However, my parents are very clear that it's the world itself doing this. This world is named Terrarium, and it is alive. Mana flows throughout the world and nourishes all life. Those closer with nature, such as elves, are said to have special oracles that can perceive a bit of the will of the world. It's usually peaceful, but when a demon king emerges, the world trembles, rages, and more. It's as if it went through a complete personality shift or something. They call this the rage of the world. No one knows why it rages against humanity or the other demi-human races, but Mother says that it's because our existence might be an annoyance to the world. I heard them talk about this the other day. Mother said that the humanoid races seemingly do something that make the world want to wipe them out. However, the gods who created them are compassionate and protective of their children, fighting against the will of the world. But then, the question arises. Who is right and who is wrong? I have yet to see the things that humanity is capable in this world. Perhaps, if it's as shitty as the world made it seem to be, then it might be justified. Sigh. Perhaps this world has way more than it seems, huh? Sadly, I'm just a 1-year-old baby. I can't do much. I can't do anything, in fact. And there's so much left I need to know. Terrarium is such a mysterious and interesting world. Because of that, I want to know more. So, when I grow up, I'll go explore the world. My parents told me some time ago that there's a profession in this world called adventurers. They're brave people that explore the world, fight against monsters, and make a living out of soul adventure. I might sound childish and immature right now, but I want to be like one of those. Then again, I am a baby, so I guess I am childish and immature. In any case, I want to be who I want to be and do what I could not do in my previous life. I want to be free, and I want to explore. I want to feel the breeze over my face as I explore every corner of this beautiful new world. I don't care if I'm a bug or whatever, or if I even have a glitched system. We'll get through it, and we'll do it however we want. And today, since it was my birthday, something special happened. Mother and father were preparing decorations around the house. In fact, Mother was even baking a big birthday cake. I've never celebrated my birthday like this. I remember in my previous life that the way we celebrated a birthday was by eating meat. Because it was so expensive, it was a very luxurious meal for us. But now, look at this. All types of colorful little things stuck onto the ceiling and walls, celebrating my 1-year birthday. I can't help but feel flattered. On top of that, the cake was close to being done. I want cake. I want cake. Naturally, I roared for my cake. Foo-foo, it's almost done. Just wait a little bit more, Mother said in response to my roars. Ha ha ha. You're quite energetic today. Do you want to get out of the crib? Father asked. Yesh. Knock, knock. However, to my surprise, we had guests today. Ah, it must be them. I let them enter through the barrier, my mother said in response. Them. Who are they? Chapter 16. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A new friend. In response to the knock, the door to the house was opened by my father, greeting two people that entered the house. No, wait. There were three people. There was a tall man, almost 2 meters tall. He was slender and looked very handsome, as his face made him look like he was in his late teens. However, his body seemed to make him look older. He had short and spiky gray hair, flashing aquamarine eyes, paired with pale white skin, so pale that it looked like candle wax. Topping it all off, he wore black clothes and a blue scarf covering his neck. He seemed rather calm and cold-headed, exuding a powerful aura within him. And to his side, there was a woman even taller than him. If he was close to 2 meters, she was definitely 2 meters tall, if not a few centimeters taller. Her entire body was chocolate-skinned, quite glossy even. Unlike the slender man, she was packed with muscles, but also had the charm of a feminine woman. In any case, her smile seemed confident and strong, and she was definitely beautiful. She had a scar on the middle of her forehead. There was also a scar on her belly and in the middle of her chest. Now that I think about it, her entire body had scars. Oh right, I was able to see her body because she wore very revealing clothes, only covering her large breasts and her nether regions. I guess she liked to show her muscles. She wore tribal-like clothes and had colorful feathers decorating her long and blonde hair. Her eyes were sharp and emerald. And with that, she brought a little girl in her arms. I think she was a bit younger than me. Though, she looked fully conscious, looking around everywhere. She had the skin color of the woman, but her long hair tied into a ponytail was gray like the man. Plus, her eyes were aquamarine as well. She looked so adorable in that blue dress. It kind of reminds me of my little sister, to be honest. Ha ha ha. You're finally here. Shade. Nephilim. My father greeted the two as he hugged them tightly. Your little Aquarina has gotten so big now. Look at her, my mother could not help but say. It's been a long time, Phelan, Alan the man, named Shade, said in response. I see your little girl has also gotten big. Look at her, she's the vivid image of Phelan. Ha ha ha. Can I hold her? Nephilim asked. Go ahead. Ah, right. Sylphie. These people are our friends, former heroes like us, my father explained all of a sudden. Really? I asked. Oh ho. You can already talk, little girl. Nephilim said in response to my question, carrying me with her big and strong arms before placing me on her other arm, right in front of Aquarina. She's a half-elf, isn't she? She has your hair. I've never seen an elf with such hair color before, Shade could not help but mention. He. Right. She's super pretty, my father replied with a wide grin. I'm sure he felt proud of me. Aquarina, how are you? Well, I guess we've never met before. I'm Phelan, and this is Alan. We are your parents' friends, my mother said to Aquarina. Friends? Aquarina timidly asked in response. Yeah, I hope you can get along with our little girl. She's named Sylph, but you can call her Sylphie, my father responded. Oi. Let me introduce myself at the very least. I extended my hand to Aquarina as her beautiful blue eyes looked at me timidly. Hello, Aquarina. Nice to meet you. Can I call you Aqua for short? I asked. Yua. Aquarina suddenly became red as she averted her gaze from me. Did I say something wrong? I asked. No, Sylphie. Aquarina is a shy girl, you see. Aquarina, don't be rude at the little girl. She just wants to be your friend. You talk about making friends all the time, right? So, here she is. Come on, dear. Nephiline said. Aquarina shyly looked at my eyes after that as she quickly looked down at my red dress. Hi, N. Nice to meet you. Yua. You're so cute, Aqua. I held her hand tightly after that. She was a bit warm. In fact, her baby hand was soft. I petted her silky head and smiled back at her. I wanted to be friendly and let her break the ice so she can relax and be more open. However, the opposite happened. She began to get even more red as her face seemed fuzzy. Yuwawawawa. Even some smoke began to appear out of her face. Did she have some sort of fever? Is she okay? I asked. Yes. She's just very timid and you're way too open, dearie. Don't worry, she'll get used to you, her mother said in response. I hope so. I don't want to make her feel bad. Sorry, Aquarina. Are you okay? I asked soon after. Boo. I am fine, she sighed. While the cake is ready, how about you two girls get to play around for a bit? Let them wander around the house for a bit, my father suggested. Sure thing. There you go, you two, Nephiline said in response as she let us down on the floor. I quickly stood up, but Aquarina had a bit of a hard time standing. She sighed. Come on, dear. You can already stand, right? Her mother asked. Here. Grab my hand. I extended my hand to Aquarina, who was currently looking at me timidly. She shyly moved her hand towards mine, and I held her tightly in response, lifting her upwards and helping her stand. See. It's super easy. Thanks, she's so cute. We wandered around the first floor rather leisurely as I showed her the things inside the house, such as that jar with an eye in it, a beautiful red jewel necklace, a painting of the castle of a kingdom I don't know about, and even a large sword affixed on the wall, which was one of the many swords my dad had. Oh. She looked at the surroundings with curiosity. In fact, every time she became surprised, she would blush a bit. Aquarina, want to be my friend? I asked her this out of nowhere. Friend. We're both girls. And also the children of heroes. So we should be friends. Oh wait, she replied. Yay. I hugged her tightly after that. I finally got a friend. Thank you. It's nothing, she said shyly. As we were celebrating, a sudden rumble came out of nowhere. Boom. What the heck was that? It was the same rumble that would appear when something enormous landed on the ground. Chapter 17. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The King of Flies, Beelzebub. A literal explosion outside the house instantly broke the jovial atmosphere of the party. Aquarina began to tremble a bit after that, looking out of the window sometime later. Something bad is coming, she muttered. Did she sense something? Perhaps she has some kind of ability that can let her sense something like that. Aquarina, what is it? I asked her. Bad. Evil, she replied. Her lips were greatly trembling. I'm scared, she muttered, hugging me all of a sudden. Oh, dear. I caressed her hair to calm her down in response. Of course, my parents quickly noticed this as well. Something's trying to break through my barrier. Wait a minute. Demons. A large army of them, my mother could not help but say. What? Don't tell me the remnants of the Demon King just came here to ruin my daughter's birthday. I'm going to burn them to a crisp, my father bellowed in response. Let me accompany you, said Shade, standing up from his seat. Soon, an aura of darkness began to surge from within his body, overflowing his surroundings with shadows. I'll help out as well, Nephiline said not long after. In an instant, her muscles began to shine with a metallic luster. In fact, ore and rocks grew on top of her body after that, forming some sort of natural armor. It seems we're fighting like the old times. Let's end this quickly. Father told the two. I'll stay here to maintain the barrier while I assist you from afar. Summon spirit familiar, Mother said in response to Father's words, conjuring a special spell I've never seen before. Soon, a flash of bright light emerged before her as she summoned a large and floating golden eye with 6 wings and a halo atop its head. It looked utterly strange, but it emanated a powerful magical essence. Ea, surprisingly, it sang with a peaceful and feminine voice. What a strange being. I'll leave you some backup here if things get too busy. Shadow clone, Shade told Mother. Flash. 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 In an instant, his entire body seemed to split into 3 more copies, all of them made out of his shadow aura. Wow. What the hell is this? The 3 shades stood with Mother as Father, Nephilim, and Shade moved outside the house and jumped into the skies as if it was as natural as breathing to them. As for Mother's familiar, it followed them from behind. I'll let you pass through the barrier. Defeat them before anything else happens. Mother shouted. Got it. My curiosity got the better of me as I took a peek at the scene out of the window, all the while holding Aquarina with my arms. Our window was big and clear, and the curtains were wrapped so I was able to clearly see what was going on from up above. Although everything looked like tiny ants from afar, my vision suddenly concentrated into the scene as mana flowed into my eyes. At that moment, my senses suddenly sharpened without realizing, and I was able to see things way clearer and closer than I naturally could. Unexpectedly, Shade's shadow clones came to comfort Aquarina, embracing her father as he calmed her down like a baby. Well, she was almost 1 year old, so she was indeed a little baby girl. Calm down, dear. It's just a minor inconvenience, he told her. My mother came by my side as she seemed to be concentrating. Can you see it from the window, Sylphie? Those are the demons we once fought, she told me. I looked through the window once more as a battle seemed to unfold. Cuckoo. I've finally found your home, heroes. After training for 6 years, I've grown exponentially stronger than before. I will avenge the death of the Demon King and devour all of you to become the new Demon King. A gigantic fly. Yes, a literal fly of enormous proportions greeted my father and Aquarina's parents. It was around 10 meters tall, not to mention ugly and grotesque. With many legs that had tons of black hair on them under its abdomen, it had 2 beady red eyes with many lenses, as well as a large jaw filled with sharp fangs. Atop its head was a small yellow gold crown. It wasn't alone, however. There were over a dozen similar demons in appearance behind him. All of them exuded a powerful aura colored dark and purple. Unsurprisingly, their very presence continuously tried to contaminate the yellow gold barrier Mother conjured with their power, as if they were trying to erode it. You're Beelzebub. My father could not help but yell once he realized who they were up against. I was wondering where this bastard had gone to in the final battle. It seems he escaped along with some others and planned to come at us later on. Nephilim could not help but say. Scum of the world, I will finish you right now, Shade said, his aura intensifying with every second. Cuckoo. That's right. I'm so happy that you remember me, heroes. I am Beelzebub, the king of the flies. Lord of famine and pestilence. Now prepare yourselves. Domain of famine. Truum. Before my father and his allies could reach him, Beelzebub generated a strange purple and black domain around him, as if creating a space where his element dominated. From the looks of it, the domain seemed to be enhancing his capabilities. Suddenly, the flies around him flew towards my parent and his allies at high speed. Despite being lesser versions of their leader, they exuded powerful auras that were not so different from the red dragon of before in terms of power and intimidation. Despite being giant flies, they were actually as powerful as a dragon. Blaze domain. Flash. My father, however, fought back against Beelzebub's domain with his own as flames and poison fought against one another atop the skies. My father quickly summoned his giant blazing blade as well. It was as glorious as the first time I saw it. Shadow Domain. Soon, Shade also released his domain as shadows encompassed his surroundings and danced with his every command. His eyes exuded darkness from within them as he suddenly took out 2 daggers from the very shadows he generated. Earth Domain. Of course, Nephilim summoned her domain as well. Her surroundings became strange, warping as if the air had gotten heavier and the atmosphere becoming suffocating. The gravity of her surroundings was powerful and heavy like the might of the earth element. Out of nowhere, a giant hammer made of various colorful ores materialized in her left hand. And then, a battle broke out. Chapter 18. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Retired heroes against a demon lord. The former heroes had been interrupted from celebrating my birthday thanks to the remnant of the demon king's army, Beelzebub, the king of flies. A demon I would assume could be catalogued as a demon general. The dreadful power he exuded from within his body was purely chaotic. This being was perhaps a dozen times as strong as that dragon my father fought before. On top of that, he commanded a dozen giant flies with a level of power similar, if not a bit higher than the red dragon. I looked at the scene with concern. Unconsciously, I gripped my little fists tightly as I began to hope for the best. Was this what my parents fought against in the past before I was born? What kind of monstrosities did they face against back then? It's pretty obvious to imagine that they would want to take it easy after everything was over. But there were some within the Demon King's army that escaped in the last battle, with Beelzebub being one of them. After hiding and perhaps training for 6 years, he had come back here for revenge. He casually proclaimed that he wanted to devour all of us so he could become as strong as a demon king. For some reason, I could not help but ask myself. Are we really that tasty? Clash. Boom. Crash. A battle quickly started as father began immediately leading his 2 friends. His flaming blade clashed against a giant dark scythe that one of the giant flies serving Beelzebub used to fight. Unsurprisingly, his blade easily overpowered the scythe after a few seconds, his presence exuding searing flames. Slosh. Gry-eeg. The fly was slashed in half and burned into a crisp. From the looks of it, father was going all out. Flash. A large lump of energy reached me and almost made me fall over my butt. In fact, I just barely maintained my composure because of it. Was that EXP? So, I still get shared EXP even from so far away. As long as they're considered my party, and I can look at them fight, I get a small share of the EXP. However, even a small share was this enormous. This energy entered my body like a cannon. What the hell? The fly that father killed turned into ashes and dropped a large black crystal as he moved like a blazing meteor towards his next victim. Beelzebub was clearly a bit surprised. Did he expect my parents to become rusty after just a mere 6 years? Go on. Fight harder. Beelzebub roared, his command generating a devilish and dark power that showered his servants with energy. From what I could see, it was enhancing their power. BBZZZZ. The giant flies grew to double their size out of nowhere as 3 of them began to overwhelm father, attacking him with darkness and poison from basically all sides. NNNGH, father was being showered with deadly poison and corrupting darkness. In response to this, his flames began to dim. However, this only lasted for a few seconds. Wanting to break free, his eyes blazed with fire as his entire body erupted into a blazing explosion, releasing a powerful shockwave of flames around him. Naturally, he burned the 3 flies around him. Flayus. His blade swung to the left as the fly being burned was suddenly slashed in half with ease, its body turning into ashes right after. I got your back. Shade rushed towards the fly that was about to pierce father with a blade made of darkness. He literally spun through the winds, using his daggers to slash through the entire fly's body as the shadows within his daggers infected the wounds of the fly. In fact, it made them open more easily as well. Gryaf. Boom. At that moment, the fly was filled with shadows thanks to a way of fighting I never thought possible in the first place as the entire creature exploded into pieces. Another fly fought against Nephilim. Unlike the fly's father and Shade fought, it used its gigantic body to slam her away and fired venom bullets at her from time to time. Unfortunately for the fly, she was incredibly resilient. The venom didn't even affect her, while the fly's body slam was pathetic. In fact, it was received 2 times with her giant hammer. At the second time, the fly splattered into pieces. "Heh, as feeble as a fly," she said with great pride. Her shiny metallic body seemed to be invincible. She rushed in front of the trio and decided to act as a tank, taking all the hits and even the magical blows from the flies. All the while, Mother's familiar healed her continuously. On the other hand, Father used his flames to slash through the flies as they came, letting the group move in front of Nephilim. Shade helped him at the side, with his movements being incredibly fast. He was able to shower a fly with multiple attacks in a mere second. From the looks of it, he specialized in hitting a target multiple times in a short time. As for Father, he was someone that was able to unleash a single and powerful blow. All 3 of them complemented well with one another. Nephilim was particularly slower, though. The flies were faster than her, sadly. Although her hammer attack was able to kill them with 2 hits, the flies were fast enough to evade her most of the time. In response, she conjured boulders of earth and large blades made out of ore at times, which were faster and pierced the fly's eyes or wings, letting her catch them off guard. Her slow movements were easily complemented by her husband, Shade, who was faster and flashier. Because of that, she roared and used a special type of spell that provoked the flies to attack her and prioritize her over the others. My father, in the meantime, used his strong blows to finish off the larger and more annoying ones while the duo fought the others by themselves. Like this wondrous battle continued, and with each fly that died, I received more and more shared EXP. I felt like I was cheating at this point. Sadly, I cannot grow stronger out of it, but this energy will go to the system so she can repair her own errors. In any case, it's still a win-win situation. I think Aquarina, who's pretty perceptive, noticed my presence at this moment and how I was getting EXP. In fact, she looked at me with surprise after she stopped feeling fearful. Clash. Boom. Crash. As the battle continued, the last fly was defeated, and Beelzebub was the only one left. Cuckoo. I've been waiting for this moment. Now come forth, the souls of my servants. Flayash. Now what the hell is he doing? Chapter 19. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Helping in the battle while doing absolutely nothing. As the battle continued to unfold, the last fly was defeated, and Beelzebub was the only one left. Cuckoo. I've been waiting for this moment. Now come forth, the souls of my servants. Flayash. Now what the hell is he doing? He suddenly waved his hands and his large staff as several magic circles emerged. He then used his giant domain to push away my father and his companions momentarily, giving him enough time for whatever he was going to do. What is he doing? Nephilim could not help but ask. Necromancy. Is he planning on reviving them? Let's kill him quickly. Shade roared soon after. No, this isn't just necromancy. This presence. A fragment of the Demon King, my father muttered in shock. Seriously, what the hell is going on? Kohahaha. Behold. This is a fragment of my king's soul. Bestowed upon me to take over his title in the future. By sacrificing the souls of my loyal subordinates, I can enhance my power by devouring them back from the dead. Now admire me as I undergo evolution and become a pseudo-demon king. Beelzebub cackled. Flash. More power continued to flow from his body as the groaning souls of his subordinates flew towards him and began to fuse with his body. His entire body exuded an enormous flame of purple and dark color. Soon, his body started to be reinforced and evolve, shape-shifting as it grew bigger and bigger. The power continued to flow, as if they were streams of darkness that came from his body, expanding all over the place. And then he stood there in the same pose. In actuality, he didn't grow any bigger than a meter. Quahahaha. Any time now. You'll see. Dot. 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 But nothing much really happened. Was he bluffing? My father could not help but ask. Let's squash this fly into bits already, Nephilim suggested. I agree. Shade nodded in agreement. Wait, I was about to become a pseudo Demon King. I was sure of it. The souls. They lacked a large part of their energy. The ritual failed. How did you obtain knowledge of my secret technique beforehand? Beelzebub could not help but ask in shock. The energy of the souls was missing. How? Wait. Is this because of me? By watching the fight, I gained EXP. This energy didn't come out of nowhere, so it came from their souls then. And because the souls of his subordinates lost mass, he lost energy, and therefore, he gained less power. Is that the reason why? Damn. Then this means I helped at not letting the boss increase his power in the middle of the battle. I actually helped. Involuntarily, though. And even though he was that strong, he wasn't able to detect this. I guess the souls lost most of their energy, which became my EXP, and then the system devoured them greedily. In short, there's no way to give it back to him. Due to this, his transformation halted midway as he ended up as a half-baked, slightly strengthened giant fly. He. You don't need to thank me, father. It was nothing, really. My father and his two friends looked at Beelzebub with disappointment after that. However, they quickly changed their expressions as they became serious once more. The guy was still powerful even without transforming, and my father said he had a fragment of the former Demon King inside him. Perhaps that made him even stronger. This shouldn't be. NGH. Slayish. My father rushed straight towards Beelzebub, so fast that even my eyes had a hard time following. The flames surrounding his body suddenly transformed into enormous dragon-like wings, overcharging his entire body with even more power. He then flew like a blazing meteor towards the fly and slashed it away with an explosive attack from his sword. Clash. Ngag. Beelzebub cried in agony as his bug body was bathed in flames, a large wound emerged over it, cracking his hard exoskeleton. Ra. Nephilim then appeared from behind, her strong rock hammer impacted his head with enormous strength, enough to make one of his eyes blow up into pieces. Because of this, his face ended up even more horrendously disfigured. Clash. Thanks to that move, the fly was sent flying towards the barrier made by Mother, impacting it as if it was an actual fly that hit a window by accident. The creature splattered over it as he tried to fight back, but felt very weakened all of a sudden. Then again, the attacks from heroes such as my father and his friends were nothing to scoff at. I could sense as if their very magical damage held some kind of effect that affected the wounds they inflicted, something similar to a curse, but even deeper. Why that, you bastards? Beelzebub barely managed to cry out as his aura began to expand. Countless clouds of little flies began to emerge from it, swarming my father and his allies as they began to destroy them, mostly through my father's fire. Shade, however, had suddenly disappeared. Where was he? Flash. He emerged right behind Beelzebub using some kind of amazing stealth ability that completely erased his presence. Using this, he reached Beelzebub by surprise and used his bare fists to pierce his back, destroying his exoskeleton from behind before grasping something. Gra! Clash! What he took out was a large black jewel, the same one the other flies dropped. A demon general magic crystal sells for a lot of money, he said ruthlessly as the horrendous fly vomited a mouthful of green and oozy blood, falling and dying right there and then. Demon King, he muttered as his last words. It's dead, then, my father said as he looked over the corpse. No. Look. Nephiline shook her head as she pointed at the corpse, a phantasmal aura slowly emerging from it. So, there really was a piece of his soul there. I was sure he was purified through Phelan's magic. Did the Demon King utilize some method to save parts of his soul? My father could not help but mutter. I don't know, but let's quickly destroy it, Shade said in response. Phelan, can you help us? Father asked. Leave it to me. Mother's familiar then hovered over the phantasmal presence emerging from the corpse of Beelzebub. Soon, a flashing light emerged from its eye as the phantasmal presence was purified. As that happened, I felt a ray of energy hit me once more. Ugh. For some reason, this EXP this time around felt a bit strange. Chapter 20. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Birthday celebration. I don't exactly know how this works, but when Beelzebub died, I received a blast of EXP once more. I'm pretty sure it came from his very soul. On top of that, when the Demon King's soul fragment was purified, I also got EXP from it. In other words, I got energy from the souls of 2 malicious demons. Is that really okay? With that in mind, I asked the system as I inserted my consciousness inside my soul. Once I entered, I saw her grow bigger in a short time. Right now, she resembled a larger mass of light, devouring large ethereal masses of dark energy. Hey, are you okay with eating that? Nom, nom, nom. Yeah, why not? Won't it take over my mind one day or something? What? No, that could never realistically happen. It lacks any ego, at most, something dark might emerge. So, something can happen. I meant it as a joke. But maybe something dark might indeed emerge in the form of new capabilities. Even then, it's up to you to discover it as you develop. I feel like this energy absorption power we have is more of a curse if that's the case. Is it really just energy or a large part of their souls themselves? Do you want to know the truth? The system suddenly asked me something that affected me a bit. I want. Before I could finish my answer, the system finished her meal without any remorse as she flew near me. I was made with the purpose of strengthening my host through the absorption of energies from the targets they or their party members slay. I have the capacity of absorbing their energies and transmute them into power for the host's soul and body. I know that. The energy I absorb is indeed what you think it is. If you slay a being, you completely devour their souls. What? I mean. I assumed something similar, but still. This was how I was made. However, if the target is slain by a party member, you only get a part of that soul, the other part is free to go anywhere. I see. So, at the end, we really do eat souls to grow stronger. Well, not really, my system is frozen. I ended up devouring a large part of my creator's soul to adjust the system to not become berserk, which ended forming the effect of endless HP and MP as an innate ability. Well, this is just my nature. I don't know if it really is something bad or wrong. However, I apologize for not telling you beforehand. I see how it is. In any case, don't worry. It's not really your fault, it's how you were born at the end, after all. Indeed. But because to that, when the souls I absorb are so strong, their essence ends up leaking into you as more than just EXP, due to the status being frozen, this energy ends up leaking into your body directly instead of being converted into skills or stats. Because of that, you may end up gaining innate abilities, she told me. Innate abilities. I bet it would cost a lot of time to develop, right? A lot of effort will be needed, yes. But you said you're good at that, right? Oh yeah, I did say that. Wait a second, the dragon soul as well? I asked soon after. Oh, perhaps. But since you also ate him, you gained even more power from him, though you are yet to awaken it completely. Huh. I wonder if I could one day get to that. I do wonder as well. After this, I discussed a bit more with the system. I asked her if she had resolved some errors with the energy she got. In response, she said that she got a few hundred of the errors repaired, but we were not even close to having halfway of them repaired yet. At that moment, I wondered if the day the errors were fully fixed, I might be able to finally gain stats and new skills. It would certainly make things even easier. Then again, I cannot slack off waiting for the day for such a thing to happen. I don't want to waste like that. Instead, I have to do my best and train hard. Well, I am still just a 1-year-old, so moving for too long is already tiring. Nevertheless, the routine I've been doing of practicing magic is already taxing, just that alone is more than enough for now. After my father and his friends finished their job, the corpses of these demons were burned into ashes, with the only thing that remained were the magic crystals. If I remember correctly, Shade said the crystals sold for a fortune. I wonder why. What do they do? It can't just be a shiny jewel, right? When they came back, they brought a big pouch filled with these black jewels. Sorry for the big fuss outside, dear. Everything is okay now, Father apologized as he hugged me. Way. Papa, you're covered in bug juice. I could not help but say. Oh, my bad. I should go take a bath. Ahahaha. I didn't want to ask them more about this, so I decided to leave this conversation for another day. Aquarina was still scared after the fight was done, but her parents calmed her down after spoiling her a lot. Despite how intimidating the two were in battle, they were very soft with their daughter, to the point that she completely changed their personalities. Maybe I'm the same for my parents. Parents always have different personalities in front of their children and loved ones than with other people outside, I guess. After an hour, when everyone was finished washing up, we finally celebrated my birthday with my cake ready to eat. It looked so good. It was recently baked and covered in white cream with many decorations on top, and many colorful fruits as well. There was a big candle on top in the shape of the number 1. Happy birthday, Sylphie. Nephiline said. I hope you can live for many more years, said Shade not long after. Saying that to a little baby is kind of irrelevant, you know. Nephiline could not help but sigh in response. Ah! Muttered Shade. My parents hugged me and kissed me as they brought me a present. Surprisingly, it was a necklace with a fiery red jewel on it. Happy birthday. Aquarina gave me her gift as well, a pair of beautiful earrings. Thanks, Aqua.chan. I said, petting her. All in all, it was a good birthday.